So George is the only person.
Yes.
This is Sarah Mellish, Chair of the Manchester Zoning Board of Appeals. I'll call the meeting to order. Tuesday, August 16th at 6:31 p.m. for the purpose of continuing deliberations on the 40B comprehensive permit application of Jeffrey Engler of SLE School Street LLC. As a reminder to the public, you are all muted. We will not be taking any public comments. We will be deliberating and discussing a draft decision that was provided to us as a working format. And all members of the board, will you make sure when you speak, that you speak towards that bar with the three lights at the bottom of the TV and speak up so people can hear us. Okay? So I sent around this morning an updated draft with a few changes in it. I think I had one more suggested change that I thought of this afternoon or this morning. And that was in the health and safety. And it was with respect to the fact that the applicant did not provide an engineered drawing to enable the board to determine whether the accessible sidewalk along the driveway is feasible, which is required for children to walk to school.
Can you reference the page, please?
770. Does that make sense to add?
Yes.
Did we ask him to provide an engineered drawing and he refused?
We just gave it to the schematic. Okay, yep. It was very difficult for us to tell from the schematic whether it really was accessible. Right. So my other comments were incorporated into this revised draft. So, I mean, I thought the draft was pretty good. And I know last meeting I was kind of vacillating on approval of condition versus denial, but I support this. I think it gets our point across.
I think very well done.
Okay.
I have a silver.
Catherine?
Most of my edits are like copy edit sort of things. But I do have a couple of more substantive, I guess, either maybe questions or points to make. One was on page 3 where we're talking about the amount of opposition, the letters in opposition and the petition sign. I thought it might be worth noting, even in a footnote, the numbers of letters in support that we received, which I think is none. Yeah. So I thought that might be worth noting that we received no letters in support.
Yeah. That makes sense. The sort of end of the board.
The other question that I had was on page 7 to 8, the number 7 is concerning snow removal. It carries over from page 7 to 8. And I think it's a great point. I just was wondering if we needed to add a sentence or so, maybe tying it more specifically to health and safety. I mean, I get that it's a practical problem, but you know, I think what's missing is the point that if we don't clear the snow, people can't get out. It's just not explicitly stated. I mean, it is true. So I think that would be an add that I would have. And then my 2 other things. One question is for all of these documents that we are quoting, like that various experts from, are we attaching them as exhibits? How does that work? How do those get in?
I wasn't planning on it.
Okay.
And it, you know, there's a fine line because if you start putting exhibits, then where do you stop? You know, so,
So we don't have to, when we do a ZBA decision, we normally have a copy of the plans and stuff, but we don't have to do any of that on the comprehensive permit, right?
right, I mean, that would, more in the case of an approval with condition, you might have a reduced set size, you know, adapted to it as, you know, the project plans, but, so, you know, as long as we're quoting things accurately, I don't think that we have to document it. We can just have it come up later. If there's something of particular importance you think we should attach, though, as an exhibit, we can certainly do that.
There were APT exhibits, and those were.
Those are maybe, right.
Can I just address that as well? You know, we included those, Sarah had worked hard to compile the conditions that you were able to achieve during the comprehensive permit process. So, you know, that's up to you though, if you want to make a record of that. I thought that would be the clearest way of making that record. And, you know, you never know what issues come up on appeal. That might have relevance down the line to certain issues.
But it also adds to the goodwill that was put in on part of our committee, particularly Sarah's work, getting
Right.
legislators.
Right, that's,
This
yeah.
wasn't a last minute decision to deny.
right.
We were working, trying to work cooperatively with the applicant and made some progress.
Yeah, so the structure, just to give it overall, is that was all Sarah's work on all those exhibits for what Sarah had prepared. And I thought it best in terms of the structure of the decision is that those conditions really show the process that you went through, all the issues of importance that came up. The denial decision is focused on the big items that you feel that you can't find a way of approving it with conditions adequately, you know, deal with these major issues. So that's kind of the structure of it, but it's totally up to you how you want to.
I think it should include all the exhibits because it shows all the work and all the good efforts we made.
Yeah, so that. A. Number 19. The date needs to be, there's an XXXF 222 date, it should be 5/31. I looked that up today.
Where was that one, Sarah?
Number 19 in Exhibit A.
Page 18.
I don't know.
Well, the papers is still on the scroll through.
Oh.
On the PDF.
Oh, on the PDF.
That was, what was it?
5/31, yeah. I hadn't been able to read it on the digital copy.
So there's another XXX and 29. It's another date there. Just
Oh,
29.
yeah, that was, I changed that to say in accordance with the snow storage plan, C-106, prepared by Allen and Major, dated 5/5/22. So they eliminated that the applicant gave it to the board on X date, so I just. put
Oh,
the
you
date.
reworded it, okay.
Yeah, the date of the.
It'll save you time too if you give me that, because I don't have it on, like, in the cemetery. So what was it, the snow storage plan?
C-106, prepared by Allen and Major, dated 5/5/22, period. Started with the snow shovel. I can hand that to you if you prefer.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch it. Yeah, there was one, Sarah, that I think they were on the exhibits before you got to that. Captain, still have to finish your comment, but while we're on the exhibits, I think Jim pointed one out.
Number of children.
Yes, number of children.
It should be 100, it's not 1,000.
1,000 to 200 does not make much. Right. So 100 to 200.
Oh, okay. What number was that?
Number 12 on page.
Okay.
On exhibit B.
Okay.
And, something of importance while we're on that issue is, and this is the last question I had on the exhibits. On number 8 on that same exhibit, same page. So what's the consensus of what you were going to require there? I think you want that in there.
Oh, right, there's a question mark pedestrian only or automobile.
I mean, you could
Or
leave
just
that.
leave that out.
Oh, okay.
I would leave it out, because I don't know that we came to a consensus on that.
You just know you wanted it.
A second.
Okay.
Very good.
The state in residence.
Yes.
You have other comments?
My only other comment slash question is whether we wanted to add a paragraph, on page 12, under the section that's site and building design in relation to surrounding, making the point that there's not a single building like this in Manchester. Like there's nothing of this scale in the town. That would be worth pointing out. And I even started to write, in fact, the largest existing building is, so that I didn't know the answer, so I crossed that out.
That's the first round.
Oh, okay.
It's the middle high school,
Oh, is that the largest building?
correct,
That's
square footage.
I mean, you want to specify what type of building? Or like a
Residential.
largest
It
residential?
would be by far the largest residential.
It's kind of the largest.
Anywhere in Cape Ann.
Well, other than the city, Gloucester, but all the other districts, I'm not sure the character in this.
Well, when of this,
But we didn't have to talk about our Cape Ann.
sorry.
Gloucester, that's-
Gloucester, yeah, no, Gloucester has Elliott Crossing.
So the town line.
Towns.
The rest of the edits are copy of this, but I don't.
That was it?
Well, I mean, I have a bunch of copy edits. Do you really want me to go through those like one by one? That seems kind of tedious. Like capitalize this, put a period on this. It's like for clarity and for just better reading of the document, but it's not substantive.
Okay. So how are you gonna get that?
Well, I wrote them down. I mean, I don't know if you can read my writing. I was going to try to, I was going to type them up, but when I got the second draft, so I didn't have time to type it.
Did you get the one in Word too?
It did. Well, I can tell you this one's very easy. My name is misspelled.
I caught Brian.
How's that biggest the idea?
There's no E.
After how?
No, there's E at the end. There's no E in Catherine.
Okay. I missed that.
The way I spell it anyway.
What would you say it's after?
So however you guys want me to do the, whatever works for the process, is fine. I mean, I can type them in right now and circulate them while someone else is commenting, or I don't know.
What do you want, George?
You want to stand there?
Unless it tortures you, I don't mind going through them.
Okay,
Unless
that's
you
fine.
want
that's fine.
I mean, the grammatical things, I think she should just keep all the comments. Right?
Can you just scan it and send it to you?
I think it'd probably be easier for everyone if I just typed it in and faster, because reading my handwriting.
Just do the red line.
That's still red line.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just track the changes.
You can add stuff.
Okay.
The conditions are not in a word file.
Right, exactly.
So
But
it's
you-
hard to edit it.
You can turn it into, I can turn it into a word.
Right.
Yeah, you can turn it back.
You can just insert your comments.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't think it was substantive. Okay, to me.
We could just fix those now.
Whatever you guys
That's
want.
fine.
Let's go.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catherine Howell.
That was very easy to fix. And then I had, on page 2, 5 lines down from my name, there it started from peer review consultants, and I had put a colon and then separate each of them by semicolons, just to make it a little more clear. And then inserted the word of between Cliff Bamer of Davis Square Architects. I did the same thing with the semicolon and the colons in the next paragraph. Consultants in support of the project, comma, including colon, Carlton Quinn, and then at the end of his thing, the semicolon, Jeffrey Jerk, just to make the list more clear. At the top of page 3, I crossed out the also in the first full sentence because we used to have a lot also in a row.
Yes, correct.
Towards the bottom of page 3, towards the end of the only full paragraph on the page, there's a sentence that says, the site is topographically comprised of high areas. The second part of that sentence, property edges, and includes a confined depression on the west side and a step valley. I wasn't sure of that. Okay, I didn't know if I just didn't know the term or.
You do know the term, it's the typo. I mean, that's one of the ones quoted.
I thought it was step valley.
Yeah, step valley.
Okay.
It's a little more complicated, but I can read it out loud if you want. Where are you? Bottom of page 3, okay.
Yeah, her page is not necessarily
Oh.
to the newer draft.
Wait, no, this is the newer draft. The one I was looking at
Okay.
my exhibit, I didn't return the exhibits. Oh, because I may have printed the Word or.
I printed the PDF.
Do I have pages not yours?
I think they do
Okay,
speak with the towards the bottom of page 3.
okay.
Yeah.
So I split, the next sentence, which is like the last sentence that starts at the bottom of my page 3, into 2 sentences for clarity, because I thought that it went on for a long time, it was kind of hard to understand. So I made it say, as more fully described in the finding sections below, I replaced B with there are. There are substantial areas of ledge and steep grades located on the project site, comma, which would require extensive blasting should the project proceed, period. Okay, I am. Okay, I know you have to read your handwriting later. Challenge. This, comma, so there was that was a period then. Okay. This, comma, combined with the environmentally sensitive area in which the project is located. And then, before the word including, I put a parenthesis, open parentheses, and I said, which includes vernal pools. I deleted tree cover and hydrology related to it, it says, which includes vernal pools and a certified cold water fishery in the adjacent Sawmill Brook. And then close parens, present, strike the S, and then the rest of the change. Yeah.
This, comma, combined with the environmentally sensitive area in which the project is located, right?
Yeah.
Paren, which includes vernal pools related to
Strike related to, should say.
vernal pools and
Yeah.
vernal pools and a certified cold water fishery in the adjacent Sawmill Brook, close paren, comma, right?
I just have to comment.
Oh.
Place it with them. Does
present extraordinary challenges.
that make sense?
Yes.
So we're deleting the tree cover and that.
I mean,
Well, I just,
the reason you're deleting it is because you're assuming that it's known that that's why the vernal pool is valuable, right? I mean, that's
well,
why.
actually, it just didn't make sense that as it was, I couldn't figure out what, like, is tree cover an environmentally sensitive area? I
Well,
couldn't-
maybe you could add, after the paren,
The only
which
reason,
will be impacted if there's a change in the tree cover or hydrology.
Yeah. You probably say that, I think we have a which, whatever.
Because one of the big issues with all our fisheries is take the tree down and protection.
That makes sense.
that's the only reason tree cover and hydrology are in there.
That makes sense, rearranging it like that. I think that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Because those will be out of the parentheses,
Yeah,
because the fisheries inside the parentheses.
yeah, so it's environmentally sensitive area, and then in the parentheses, vernal pools and the fishery, which make the environment sensitive area, which is impacted by a change in tree cover.
That would be
Would
impacted,
be,
that would be impacted by any change in tree cover or hydrology.
Okay.
I just made that up to sound
Remember when present extraordinary challenges?
Yeah,
The only problem is I kind of lost.
can you read it back there?
So after the closed paren, that would be impacted by any change in tree cover or hydrology. Maybe that should go in the paren.
That's fine.
Yeah, that goes in the paren, and then it says present extraordinary challenges.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense, Trish?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
Now, I made a change here that if I change terms of our George, you'll have to tell me, because I don't. So.
I apologize, I'm slow, I just
That's
didn't catch
okay.
up before. So we got environmentally sensitive area in which the project is located, paren, which includes vernal pools and a certified cold water fishery in the adjacent Sawmill Brook that would be impacted by any change in tree cover or hydrology.
Adversely impacted.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right. Any change
which could be adversely.
would be is what.
That would be, it's so definitive.
Yeah.
Would be, would,
Yeah.
could be is not as strong as.
Be like strong.
I'm feeling mighty.
Yeah.
I'm feeling mighty tired. I'll wait.
But,
I'm just waiting, I don't wanna.
You know how it is, if I cross up the wrong thing, it'll be a disaster later.
Allow it.
Present explanation of that. Okay, I'm really thank
good news is I'm taking notes too. Also,
Okay, the next thing I had was for a little further down in that same paragraph. I'm on page 4, yes. But you were.
You're in the same paragraph.
I'm in the same paragraph we were just in. It's the next sentence. It's a long sentence. So it's 1, 2, 3 lines down. Mine starts with the word conditioned. Whether approval of the project could be conditioned in order to is what it says now. I changed it to say whether approval of the project could be appropriately conditioned to ameliorate health, safety, and environmental concerns.
I don't see.
Appropriately conditioned, but
Strike in order, and then to ameliorate, strike properly protect, health, comma, strike and safety. And then the rest is as it is.
Right, so really appropriately. appropriately
Whether
conditioned.
it could be appropriately conditioned to ameliorate health, safety, and environmental concerns. Sorry, I know I'm giving you a workout here.
Yeah.
Turn the page.
My daughter jokes with me that I'm in love with words, so don't.
You're in love with words, that's funny. Okay. The next full paragraph I have starts with the Manchester Essex Conservation Trust, and I don't have any changes. The next one,
Can we just,
Yeah.
stop for a second?
sure,
The next sentence starts with, it argued, maybe like defined, like, I don't know.
oh yeah,
Maybe
define
anything-
MECT,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Make it a
MECT,
defined term.
MECT.
and then start with, yeah.
And then the next.
Did you have any earlier?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, did anybody have anything 1 to 4? Well, we,
No, I mean, we all have different styles, but we'll just, or John.
Yeah. Okay, the thing is I have in the next paragraph. In addition, and I changed the first sentence to say, in addition to the conditions the board considered in its efforts. Was considered in its effort to achieve an approval of the project with conditions is struck as noted above. And the board also voted to grant numerous waivers needed under the town's zoning bylaw. That's it.
in addition to the board considered in its effort to achieve an approval project with conditions, comma, the board also voted.
Yeah,
That sounds good, everybody.
And then you eliminated the word to build the project on the size and scale.
no, I just
Oh,
like.
okay, okay, cool. Yep.
I didn't know if we needed to cite these quotes from the applicant or not.
We don't. The only reason for it, actually, it would be great to discuss this before, if you don't mind, Sarah.
Yeah.
It's, one of the members last time kind of expressed this, or there was kind of a consensus that he didn't like the way sort of, the questions were answered, or, there just seemed to be a mantra of sort of threat a little bit, or uncooperativeness. So that's all I was trying to convey there, but that's me trying to convey the thoughts that I was getting from the board members, not, so if anybody's not happy with it, I'm more than happy to edit it. So,
I have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like trying to get the feeling across, but I don't want to make it sound petty enough.
Right.
Yeah,
I wanted to be overly inclusive than under,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to strike it, because you're right, it has limited zero value.
It could be interpreted,
Trustworthiness as a development partner for a big project in town is an issue.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly being threatened, so it's relevant sort of for that, but it has marginal relevance. And if you think it sounds petty, again, I was just trying to convey what was being expressed by the members, but that can certainly be substantially.
You do have to just leave the on quote, might as well go on the field right now.
Or,
Say what you said.
or just summarizing it and saying on numerous occasions, the applicant threatened to, I don't know, I made it look like a lot, but you could strike the quotes and just make a summary sentence that says something like, on numerous occasions, the applicant threatened.
or there were consistent threats of appeal.
Yes.
And
That's what it was.
consistent threats of appeal and also threats about what the housing
That the
appeal
HAC
was gonna do.
would support the developer, not the town.
Yeah, so maybe where the new paragraph starts substantially correct and maybe kind of lessen the part that feeds into that. It's really where it came from, the biggest issue where it came from was the drive, the access.
Yeah.
So that was sort of where the line of the sand was drawn very early.
I mean, I think that there were certain conditions that we considered, and the the applicant basically said you can't do them.
Right, so I think starting at that sentence where it's the applicant refused to even consider blah, 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 I think that's where our edits need to begin. Because like, if you consider that line with respect to the driveway, I mean, he acknowledged several times, I'd love to do it, but I just can't. I can't build a
He
second.
didn't say he'd love to do it.
Well, I'm
He
just
never said
paraphrasing, but
No, he said he said he principally,
He did say that for the site experience.
and it was the same as the denial if we imposed that condition.
Right, that's,
because we're saying that he refused to even consider possible design adjustments. I'm sure he did. Maybe he did consider design adjustments. It's a big blanket statement that we're throwing on this.
Yeah, he didn't.
Yeah, it's overstated, yeah. Yeah, so that. I
We
mean,
need to adjust that.
So I would just say, starting at that sentence, moving forward for the next couple paragraphs, I think we could just get rid of a lot of that and just, maybe just start out by indicating that the board also had concerns about, the developer's willingness to work, as a development partner with the town. And then on numerous occasions, there were threats of appeal, blah, 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 that kind of what we talked about.
Like a little summary sections or two.
Yeah, just a couple lines. And
so
maybe,
we're
Oh, yeah.
where the end of the rewrite is done, so the
Yeah.
rewrite starts at the bracket of applicant,
Yes.
correct.
and then towards the end of the bracket would be,
It is
Basically,
before, during deliberations.
correct,
yeah,
correct.
and it doesn't have to be totally taken out.
No, just
Yeah,
summarize more,
Maybe we can work on
I
it.
think that's
We
exactly
can
where I
maybe
was
send you something.
bracket,
Yeah. we'll work on it. Right, yeah.
We can put something together.
I have a quick question, it's a minor point that says 1,800 foot single emergency egress. It's basically a roadway, but I have the number 19. So,
It was inconsistent throughout the whole section. Sometimes it was 18, sometimes it was 19. We didn't have anything that gave us the exact number.
should the 1,800 feet or longer.
I think we should, in situations like this, we should just indicate approximately
Yeah.
for the number.
Yeah, say approximately or 1,800 foot.
And I would apply that same logic where you talk about the safety risk of 7% of the town's population. I would say approximately 7% of the town's population.
Unacceptable safety risk to approximately. Not up. To.
yeah, I mean, I had said up because it was more like a concept. I'm uncomfortable with this concept as opposed to that it's talking about this, the actual people, but.
Yeah, and then I guess, what could we say, like, that population that would be living in one building?
Yeah.
Who,
Yeah.
who would, who would be living?
Yeah. Are we good with that section?
I'm just looking up at the very front again, like, can we make it clear that this is project comprises one building? I know that there's the structure of 136. Yeah, in a single building, okay, all right, we're good.
Is it on an absolute platform?
Right.
Or-
Not with the word building, you say one isolated building. Or one.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be as factual as you can. The only reason to kind of, it doesn't stray a little bit, but when it's summing up kind of deliberations, that's where it gets a little, some creative language, that's trying to convey what your plain English discussions were during deliberation.
So you
As opposed to being creative writing, describing the project.
So would you add the word isolated? One isolated building?
If that's what people isolate, at that point, where you're talking about deliberations, at that point, on page 6, you might want to say something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Isolated.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, going back to page 2, when we're talking about the site, just make it clear, like, this is undeveloped, this is currently undeveloped land. Because we talk about comprised of high areas, ledge and snap, but like, make it clear to the reader that this is 15 acres, 23 acres, sorry.
It says it in the first.
It does, but I'm talking about when we're talking about the site.
oh, okay.
Yeah, where it says the site consists of.
It's,
The intended project that is located north of, is that what you're talking about? Located limited.
yeah, like the site is currently undeveloped land and topographically comprised of high areas and substantial ledge, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, the site is currently undeveloped land that is topographically comprised of.
Yeah.
Anything else in the first section? We're good? Something wrong. Now we're on section 3.
It is well part of it, anyway. On section 3.
So we're in the meeting, I added something about.
Right.
What else?
In the first number 1, the applicant proposes a single means of access and egress to the project consisting of a 24-foot wide driveway. I inserted that is, or that would be approximately.
Say also with grades as severe, replace high with severe.
Should we also include, I mean, you do say down below here, but the idea that there are retaining walls along that driveway as high as 25 feet.
We could make it into, yeah, we can make it into 2 sentences.
Yeah, because we're kind of summarizing it, what the driveway is gonna look like in bullet point 1. And then in bullet point 4, we're talking about, how the retaining walls impact snow removal plan or the safety.
Right.
So are you saying to talk about the walls back in number 1?
Yeah,
You could just move the sentence with 25-foot and higher retaining walls at the end of number 4 up to the end of number 1.
You could do that, because we're basically introducing it at full
Yeah.
first bullet point.
but we need to include it in the safety bit piece also because you can't get out. The number 1 is explaining what the driveway's like.
Oh, I see.
And so you include the fact that there's retaining walls, but then number 4
So
is
you
talking about
reinforce
the
it.
fact that if you can't get down the driveway, there's no other way out.
So you could just say,
Where are you, what number?
number 1, after it says approximately 1,800 feet in length, you could add a clause that says, and bounded by high retaining walls or something, I mean.
And
like
bounded
restrained by,
retaining walls as high as 25 feet with grades as high as
yeah,
8%. That's severe as 8%.
Why are you using severe rather than high?
Because it sounds more,
It's 8%
it
severe.
sounds less safe. But just a high grade, it's
Very
very
judgmental. Is 8% considered severe?
I don't know.
I would say.
It's not according to the ADA.
Not
So-
according to the.
So you're being a little judgmental and getting a little wrapped up in the editing process. It's pretty well written as it stands. You could nitpick it to death.
Yeah.
But the points that were made are good. And you have to be careful, you just don't get carried away and start coming across as very adversarial when you're trying to present just the facts and how we have dealt with the facts.
Because someone reading this is going to wonder if it makes sense.
24 foot wide driveway that would be approximately 1,800 feet, is like bounded by.
Retaining walls 25 feet high. It's not good.
I mean, maybe we should have a separate sentence there about the unacceptable risk the board finds is what's an
Yeah.
unacceptable risk.
High 8%, period.
Yes.
Which,
Okay. These conditions.
We just say this poses.
There's- that's good.
What's amazing is when it comes right down to it, despite the multitude of issues, they're fairly limited of the obstacles that you've had a problem with. You know, they're
Yeah.
very limited issues. It's the site access,
yeah,
very difficult issue. And there's environmental concerns, which those I can tell you, those are big issues. Honestly, you know,
Environmental is always.
right. Because then you're not just talking about somebody wanting to reduce density for the sake of.
right.
And these are real, these aren't mad.
Yeah.
These are real issues.
Is there anything else in it?
No, except for the thing I said earlier in the meeting, which was in number 7, to add that it's
There's some.
right, clear the problem. Okay, so.
Do you have anything else in it?
No,
The,
but just moving on to B, I would say, just say that a global comment, when we talk about the local bylaw, or the town zoning bylaw, you just define it up front. You know,
Yeah.
the town of Manchester by the Sea bylaws, and then parentheses, you know, the bylaw, and then just
okay,
keep it consistent throughout the document. Because I've seen it referenced in different, you know, ways thus far.
so this would be the wetlands bylaw.
Or it's in the zoning bylaw.
Well, this natural environment is not the zoning bylaw, it's a wetlands bylaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, however we,
Yeah,
yeah, we just, as long as we define these terms.
How do we want to define it? The town's local wetlands bylaw regulations.
Just say the wetlands bylaw.
Okay. Or you could name it by the town, you could say Manchester by the Sea's local wetland bylaw, you could say MBTS wetlands.
Or
bylaw.
the local
Yeah,
bylaw,
either
the
one.
local wetland bylaw.
However you want to define it.
We, and you notice we had a typo with AE, should have been R, the rate you were talking about. 7 or 8 or 9. Where you were saying define it,
Oh, yeah.
it says AE more restrictive.
On that same number, whatever number we're on, I had just at the end of the sentence, at issue, I struck that, which are of particular importance at the
Yeah.
proposed building site. There. My next edit is the number 11, just before the name Garner. I think you can use Mr. if you don't call Mr. Horsley and Mr. Garner.
Nick Gardner.
No,
Sorry.
It's going the wrong way.
Yeah, I've known him for a while back in the day. That one I know is right.
That's Patrick, right?
Yes.
Okay.
what's next?
In number 14, after Scott Horsley, comma, I put the water resources consultant retained by, and then we're going to define MECT, it should be by the MECT.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if we want to end it there. I wasn't sure about the value add of this concerning. Maybe that was what he was hired to opine about.
What?
Yeah, I would leave, I agree, I would just get rid of the, and concerning one.
And just end it with retained by the MECT period.
Yeah. As he said, no issues in the bids, in the applicant's full analysis.
Number 17, alternative analysis. We need to make a decision about whether that's a defined term that's capitalized or not, because it goes back and forth throughout the document.
Yeah,
So,
it should be, yeah. Where do I have it without the?
At the very
beginning of number 17.
17. No alternative analysis has been provided. And then the second iteration is capitalized, it's alternatives.
Oh, I think this was to have that.
At the S, it does.
Yeah, we do alternative analysis in paragraph 16 as well, not capital. If you're worried about that, yeah. So, is it plural or is it other?
Which one?
Is it alternative
Divs.
is plural?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, the 17 then should be plural too.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a global.
Okay.
What's next?
In number 20, at the very end of that paragraph, the very last clause, I took out and after the comma will dramatically impact the microclimate, comma, specifically the temperature and stormwater.
Took out the and.
And
Yeah. Wonder if we want to take about and next one. So thus requiring and analysis of thermal effects. Requiring analysis of thermal effects.
Yeah.
I think that's not better too. It's like, oh, I think about that.
In number 24, Mr. Horsley and the Conservation Commission Chair also something stated, noted,
Also that,
opined.
yeah,
There's a word.
Stated.
Yeah, I would just say noted, just because they're kind of,
okay.
they're not stating it, they're just calling to your attention that there's a bylaw provision on
Can we get rid of the also?
that. Yes.
What's in D? Anybody have any comments in D? C. Added section about not a single residential scale.
Yeah, the only other comment was in 31. Have been left unanswered due to the Edward applicant's late submission of the public sewer proposal. And insistence. You either should say, and his insistence or insistence that. 31. Paragraphs 34 to 66 have been left unanswered due to the applicant's late submission of the public sewer proposal and his insistence the public hearing be closed by July.
Yeah, his insistence.
His.
Anything else in section C?
Where do you want to note that it's the single building, nothing like it? At the beginning of those findings or at the end? Now we have the findings and see where that most does fit.
Use the original. Statements.
I was gonna say between 29 and 30. Yeah. 29 some.
I'll say before both of them.
Yeah.
Your sentence.
I would say inconsistent with, I would also, I don't know if it's germane, but I would try to wrap the entire region.
I don't know if we can
I don't think
do
we
that.
need to. You know,
No, I know, I like it, like conceptually, I think it's really good, I think it's persuasive, but I don't know if it's in our, like, I don't know if we can appropriately consider what surrounding Cape Anns are doing. Cape Ann towns are doing, I don't know, I like it.
They're
I
quite
agree
much
with
larger projects, but they're multi-building. You know, your point is like this
Yeah.
one project, one large.
Right.
It kind of goes the other way too, so somebody could say, oh, well, there should be, so you're stuck with the first one. There should be more. But you need housing. And,
Find someone.
I mean, it's, I would tend to stick with your town. I mean, I know what you're saying.
Not just,
I like it.
Well,
we've had people, call and mention, you know, from Essex driving from Essex. coming
Oh,
here.
that's true.
Could you change number 29? And add, not only is it inconsistent with the town's open space and recreation, it's inconsistent with the character in the area. Can't build a character in the area.
That's great.
I think that captured it.
So where is it, Sarah?
29. It says development of the site in the size, scale, and manner proposed is inconsistent with the character of buildings of the local, what did I say?
I don't know, something like
Really someone.
is inconsistent with the character of the surrounding area. I think was what-
Yeah,
Big scale is scale.
here.
Inconsistent with the character and out of scale with the surrounding area.
Character. Scale.
In scale of the town and surrounding area.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Because we also want to reinforce that there's no residential development in the area as well.
And then go on to say,
Furthermore,
The property will also be inconsistent with the town's open space and recreation plan, blah, blah, blah.
Or it's just, it is inconsistent.
It's more powerful to use the town's open space and recreation plan for it to be consistent with the area.
Yeah, I mean, on,
Because this is a general, this is a,
so add a sentence at the end of 29 to say,
when they, yeah, on appeal, sorry, on that point, that's right. Where they will find relevance and it's under their regulation is when it's tied to something. That's tied to an open space recreation plan, or tied to local regulation. They ask for sites, and they look at it, they really do examine that. A lot of times, they just ignore it anyway, but that's how they.
that's right, that's a stronger argument.
Yes.
And the fact that it's residential, it's a general district, it's a commercial district. So you don't want to get too heavy on the residential because you're dealing with, it's already zoned commercial, am I right?
I think if that is actually what towards these are covers the objects of.
So how does that read then, Sarah? Is development of a site, development of the site in this size scale manner proposed consistent with the character and scale of the town and surrounding area, period.
as,
I thought we were gonna say open space and recreation.
as discussed in the town's open space recreation.
Well, they're two separate points.
I know.
They're two separate points.
Well, do you?
And I certainly think it's what I said earlier about, they will ask you to tie things to local regulations, but they don't take a blinder to what your community looks like.
So make it a separate sentence at the end of that number.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind leading with it, it's fine. Development of the site in the scale, manner, and growth inconsistent with the character and scale of the town and surrounding area.
And the town's open space and recreation plan.
Or I just go to a separate.
Yeah,
sentence. It is inconsistent with, it is also consistent with, because those are different concepts. Because one is
Yes.
what your town looks like. The other is what planning has gone into effect, is it consistent or inconsistent?
I think that to Jim's point, though, shouldn't we lead with the town's plan?
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I think you're okay. It's not, you're not gonna live or die on the order of that.
It's not the government documents.
I would also just say that instead of it is, I would just say the site is reduced to 2.
Yeah, I mean, those could be a separate paragraph too, is the first one that you noticed, Sarah, is paragraph 29, the next one could be 30, where it says it is the project is inconsistent with the town's open space and recreation plan. And then the next one, the site is adjacent to and not compatible with. That could be one finding, the open space and recreation plan. I think that'll make you more happy, because it's a separate concept. Somebody wants to discard the other finding, they can.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's good.
We're good with C. And G. So I guess I'm confused. In 20, I mean, we're referencing up above the town's open space and recreation plan. Why isn't that under open spaces?
Right, for a reason that I'm gonna describe in a second. If I could just get that with you. Right. So. Yeah, there are two separate. Concepts under the regulations. Yeah, because if, you don't have to go back to it, but I'm reading from your very decision. It's, the regulation talks about better site and building design in relation to the surroundings and municipal and regional planning. So
Okay,
that's why that's
okay.
tied to that.
And then it's
That
or.
or reserve open space, which is a separate concept.
okay.
So that's why. But certainly, if you want to develop that separate category of open space more, you're free to, but the other one should definitely be under the first one.
Did you want to reference the town's open space plan again in number 32? Is that what you're getting at, Sarah, or no? I'm finding the one.
Yeah.
You might, to the open space, you might add something about the fact that, the conservation areas and natural resource areas immediately adjacent to the site, for which the views will be spoiled because of the building or something like that.
Oh, you could add a paragraph about those view things that we were
Yeah.
presented with, that would show the impact to
The views from the various
views from
conservation areas,
conservation,
the impact of the building on the views from the conservation areas.
You know, yes, you know,
Is that not word?
open space has its own definition in the regs
Okay.
too. And it says means land areas including parks, parkland, and other areas which contain no major structures that are reserved for outdoor recreational, conservation, scenic, or other similar use by the general public through public acquisition, easements, long-term lease, trusteeship, or other title restrictions which run with the land. So what I took from that definition is you're trying to tie that into, is this town open space there, that wilderness area or?
Yeah, so,
There's surrounding.
Yeah, so,
it's not just the adjacent, it's stuff across the street, it's stuff way down Pine Street,
Yeah.
which is high enough where you can see it.
I mean, it's up to you. I tried to put the concept in that it's inconsistent with open space laws with public enjoyment of those areas. So that would obviously include your viewscape, and the natural environment, but if you know, it's your decision if you want to flesh that out more in that section.
What do people think? You think this is sufficient?
I mean, part of the problem is too, as you said before, it's in the limited commercial district. So it's not like it's located in, say, a natural resource protection district,
Right.
something like that. That's not wetlands. That's more like zoning.
The town hall is about 1.5.
So yeah, you know, you have some towns have zones like that. That's what really you're getting more at.
Okay,
I think we covered the concept, but you know, again,
okay, let's leave it.
I think that, I should say that, you know, on appeal, defending a denial decision, you can't overdo it, but certainly something of relevance will be some witnesses' experience of that area. You did hear a lot of that during the public hearing. I've walked this for all these years of, you know, in the habitat study talks about that, how the value of the habitat there. One day you'll go there, you'll see an owl. Next day you might see something else. It's something that's been enjoyed by the public. I think that's a relevant thing to be talking about, right? We would fall under that. I don't know if you are thinking of anything else.
I think you mean something like, the board received numerous public comments concerning, like, is that what you're saying?
I don't think
Record?
you need to put it in the decision, but if you're defending the decision,
I got it.
if somebody wanted to testify in the case, somebody who testified to, their experience in this area. Helpful, but you don't need the decision as long as it's captured in that concept. Unless you were thinking of something else.
Now, do people have comments on the exhibits?
Well, I have just a few, but they're not very substantive, it's just questions. But on the record of the vote, you just need to correct your name.
Oh,
I got that. It's very cool when you say the word something.
You didn't catch my name.
yeah, I caught that,
Thanks, Don.
and I didn't change John's to make it wrong.
In exhibit A, I just had a global comment about the use of construction management plan. It's defined upfront, then at other times we spell it out, so it's be consistent with whether we're creating CMP or writing out construction management plan.
Yep.
And then in between number 5 and number 6, I wasn't sure if the new paragraph was supposed to be a separate number or if it was part of the same thing. Sure, if we're missing a number or if it's supposed to be part of 5.
It was originally part of 5, but you think it needs to be a separate number?
It's just format, with the way it's formatted, it's,
Oh, yeah. I mean, so you could put it back,
yeah, put it together or, yeah.
join it.
Not
Sarah,
make it a separate paragraph, yeah.
And that's sort of a running comment, like it occurs again in number 10, where the formatting, it looks like we're missing numbers, or else we need to put it all together. That would be a very long paragraph to put it all together.
Yeah, I think we should add another number there, Sarah, if you think. 10, 11.
Okay.
Maybe they're all separate, pre-construction monitoring and annual monitoring.
Right.
So number 5 should be 2 questions. 2 numbers. Right, okay.
It's more clear, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't join it as a paragraph, just have it as a sentence.
Yep.
Exhibit B, do we have the date for number 19?
Exhibit what?
B, number 19, Allen Rangers.
Oh, that's fine now.
What's the drainage? Yes.
Cool.
19. Exhibit
B.
B.
The only pending rewrite we have is that section where we were talking about trustworthiness, right?
525.22. Number 9.
Delegates.
Let's do it.
All right, great.
These in the background.
Okay, so, any other comments? This is for George. That was number 29 in B. Okay, so the question is how we want to move forward on this. Once we take a vote, we have 14 days. We have two options that I consider. One is to circulate another draft and have another meeting to approve it, or circulate a draft and authorize me to sign it on behalf of the board if there's no substantive questions.
So you're saying vote and then circulate the draft.
Yeah, we could do that. We just have to file it within the 14 days.
Why don't you use all the available time that you have? There's no rush. You do have a deadline that has to be done by then.
Yeah, but
Prior to that,
14 days, I'll explain to you why. I would rather have the Labor Day holiday on somebody else's time, not my time. I mean,
that's okay.
the applicant has 20 days to appeal after we file. So if we file before Labor Day week becomes in that 20 days.
So
Right?
the way I understand it,
Yeah.
it's decisions due to the fifth.
So if we were to make a decision tonight, it would have to be filed by August 3rd. If we meet next week to go through it, we have less than 14 days,
I'm out
To
of
file.
town, I'm out of town next week.
okay?
Where? You're Virgin Islands, I can join you by Zoom.
So that's the problem. We run out of time. September 6th is 14 days from next Monday.
I mean, if I can appear virtually, I don't mind appearing at the meeting and voting, but I just won't be here next week.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I don't, whatever you want to do.
I don't think there's anything that we're really waiting on that we need to investigate further for this.
It won't take
Draft.
John and I long to write our couple.
I mean, if we can write those sentences you're gonna
Everything
do,
by this week.
and circulate them and give any comment, people can give comments to George. If you wanna
So you're
change it,
saying we'll vote today,
well, that's what I'm suggesting. I don't know.
Let's do it.
pending.
What are your thoughts, George?
Yeah, I don't feel great about that. Usually if you go to a vote, it were like the sort of formatting
Okay,
changes that Andrew was doing, and you'll vote it,
okay,
move approval of the denial of the decision subject to the edits discussed tonight, but where you would still have a couple of parts to be kind of rewritten.
okay,
You really don't want to have a rolling, violation of the open meeting law on that by
okay,
sending drafts around, and, you're better maybe, if possible, if you can just have another date that, one more deliberation session just to review and approve the final draft.
SB file on the 6th
Yes.
September.
So it has to do.
So that's 2 weeks
Back
from the,
14
2 weeks from the 23rd.
No, you don't have to move it back 14 days. You have up to 14 days,
Right.
right? But you can vote. and
but if you
final
make
next day.
changes at the next meeting, then George has that time to make the changes,
My point
you know,
It has to be filed with the clerk by the 6th.
yes, down for it.
But if you had it that you're just meeting just to review as a group of and vote for final decision,
Unless we adjourn,
you could even do that virtually, yeah. You could even do that virtually.
okay?
And then there's no problem of designating John and Catherine to write the bracketed section and provide it to council. And for Sarah to work with council to finalize a draft. And then you're just scheduling one last session to look at that final.
And you're saying it's permissible to do virtually.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. So when are we going to meet again? I have to post an agenda for this, yeah. I think Monday's too soon, I'm sorry. If they're gonna get their comments done by Friday, we're not gonna have a draft. It's gonna incorporate it on Monday.
You want to do it on the 30th? We're going to meet on
I
the
think it
30th.
comes by tomorrow, Or you just have George do comments. I don't want to delay anything.
But if we meet on the 30th and we have a substantially final version, I don't think.
You gotta remember, town hall's closed on Friday.
That's the 30th.
Oh, I see what you're saying. In a second, yeah.
What about the 29th?
I'm not
Can you make a virtual appearance?
telling. I'm calling, in terms of when I'm going.
What about the 31st?
Is the 18th too soon?
Yes. I can't post the agenda.
What's the difference between the 19th and 22nd?
Kathleen's not here.
I'm here on the 19th. I'm not here on.
What?
Can we do the 19th?
I have to post tomorrow.
It's fine.
It's Friday.
Yeah.
If we did just like,
This is gonna be virtual, this is gonna be tough.
But all comments have to be submitted and a draft is being done. I don't see how it can be done. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize, Sarah. It's fine.
It just,
I mean,
The 31st,
is there any,
no,
It was supposed to be.
I mean, 31st, then you have plenty of time to make a final draft that everybody will see in advance. And then somebody can file with the town clerk the next day.
I
No,
don't see how we need to meet in person every time we have to refine a draft. I mean, it's a living, breathing document. Like we vote on things all the time where we hear the decision and then we go home and write it and then we file it. I just, you know what I mean?
I mean, you could do that too. You could vote move approval of the denial decision with the chair designated to make the final changes to council.
That's preferable. Right?
Preferable to use Sarah.
It's fine, I would circulate it to everyone to see if they.
Just final comments and that's it, and it's filed.
And we have, and we'll, at some point,
I mean, it's 95% complete.
Yeah, I can sign it. You can authorize me to sign it on behalf of the board and not require everyone to sign it. If you're willing, if you.
Start the video.
There's some other people. We know that they're there.
Yeah, they were there.
There's 12 people on.
I have to go up to view to see if it's there. But this is better.
Okay. This is very complicated. We have to make a decision. We can't make a decision regarding this. I don't see how we can make a decision on it.
I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think it's okay. It's not the conflict. I am fine with that. If you are comfortable being designated by the board to finalize the decision, that is okay. If you would rather we all help finalize the decision, I can do it that way. So I think it doesn't need, no controversy on my end, whatever people are most comfortable with. Sarah, what are you most comfortable with?
I mean, it seems to me that we've identified all of the changes we want.
We've looked
Yeah,
at this now.
correct, yep. The only thing is those two sentences.
Yep.
That you guys are gonna run, which can be circulated to people.
Yes.
They
Right,
can be provided to council
right.
and
And any
not.
comments to council can be given to council of the changes, right?
Well, I wouldn't do it that way, because then you're having a rolling meeting.
Okay,
So you don't want to do that. What you could do is you could, move to deny in accordance with and issue the written denial decision, incorporating the changes discussed tonight and, designating the chair and council to prepare the final version for the members to sign, or final, sending it to the top where it's us. Then, if somebody wanted to give me input on those two sentences, they can send it to me directly. And then I will have that in the draft that I work with Sarah on.
That's fine.
That makes perfect sense.
And can members, Sarah, do you mind, can members, is it okay to, it would be nice to have a real hard copy decision actually signed. is it okay with you, you know, we give them a date certain by which they come?
So you want everyone to sign it? I thought.
You can do it, that they're designating you to sign it, but it would be good to have the members who voted on it signing it, if that's physically
So let's have a
possible.
town hall and people have to swing in.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Then they know what they're signing.
Okay.
I think we'll clerk.
But it's a,
Just that people have to show up to do it.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, it's not logistically possible.
What dates are we talking about?
We have to have a rock that date.
Yeah, just tell me.
And then Sarah, whatever you're comfortable with about when you would have that final copy ready. Whatever time you need.
So it's got to be signed on the 30th, by September 1st.
Yeah, I would kick it, why don't we kick it back? I can get this very quickly to you in close to final form, just subject to you finally reading it. So if you and I give a date by which the members can expect the final available for signature. So whatever your date you're comfortable with that, Sarah.
Will we get it to town hall by the afternoon of the 29th, Monday?
Yes.
And then it's, what, and then it needs to be signed by the 31st?
Okay.
Then you have no issue. You don't worry about the 14 days, 15 days, 30 days, 40 days, Labor Day, and you have it all done within the 40-day deliberation period. You know, it's all signed.
Jill, you can.
I will harass you.
The only thing is, you know, we have just forgot, if we're doing it that way, we have to do it 14 days of time.
It is. No, it's not.
Let's get it,
The 30th is.
let's get a drop date, that date that we can have it, that you and I finalize it, Sarah, for the final for signature, and by a time that it can be filed in the town clerk's office with 14 days after tonight.
That's 30.
Yes.
Well, I can find them on the 29th.
I won't do it. It's not first thing in the 30.
Well, it will be ready the prior week.
As long as it's ready.
Yeah.
As long as it's ready on time on Thursday, next Thursday.
26.
So let's have a draft date, the final draft will be done on August 23rd.
Perfect,
Great, and give people a week to
Sign it.
sign it.
perfect.
Okay,
Yeah, on that.
and signed by the 29th.
Or else.
And I'll file it on the 30th.
I think it's fun doing.
So I make a motion to deny the comprehensive permit on the 40B application of Jeffrey Engler of SLB School Street LLC to be known as the Sanctuary Manchester by the Sea for a comprehensive permit under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B, Sections 20 to 23, to construct a 136-unit apartment complex for which the Massachusetts Housing Finance Agency issued a project eligibility decision on September 16, 2021 at School Street, Assessors Map number 43, lot number 18, filed with the town clerk on September 27, 2020.
Second.
James seconds it.
You're all in that.
Take a vote. The 5 voting members are the full-time members. Brian,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
and Sarah votes yes. That then? And it will be signed by the 29th so that I can file it on the 30th. What'd you say?
who's gonna write the decision?
Yeah, just to clarify. Yeah, so the chair and council would work out the final draft in accordance with the discussion tonight. The final decision ready, available for signature by the 23rd. And then
That was my question.
Okay.
I think I thank you for everyone for your
Yeah.
input into this decision. I think it turned out really well.
Take your edits.
Do we have minutes?
Yeah, minutes through July 13th.
Did anybody list them? Okay. Then, can we, do you think you can review so we can approve tomorrow? Okay,
I'll be virtual tomorrow here. Or
Virtual.
Virtual.
virtual tomorrow.
So, great.
Yes. So I make a motion to close the meeting, adjourn the meeting. Close.
Sounds good.
8:01 PM. Catherine seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Close. We just said.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
George. You're welcome. Thank you.